And Rob, welcome to the podcast. We're excited to have you on the show today. How's things going up your way?
Well, I'm chatting to you guys from north of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and it's a balmy minus 28 degrees Celsius here. The other day it was minus 40, and if you're speaking American or Canadian, that's cold in either language and the same number. Cold.
You are exactly right. Well, we did a little bit of an introduction for you, but why don't you tell our listeners who you are and how you got to where you are?
Background is really in the area of plant physiology, soil chemistry, crop nutrition. So basically agronomy background. Been an entrepreneur, built many different companies, ag retail, been involved in fertilizer manufacturing, built the AgriTrend group of companies into one of North America's largest independent agricultural consulting firms in the area of agronomy, precision ag, grain marketing strategies, farm business management, carbon credits. We traded over $50 million worth of carbon credits, and a data platform called AgriData Solution. All of that is now part of Trimble. So Trimble Ag Software was our software. Then I did a stint as CEO of DOT, a robotics company, and we migrated that company to Raven, and that is all part of CNH today. So a background in ag tech, pretty practical background in terms of how I look at agriculture. International speaker, been all around the world and written 2 books, TEDx talk. Other than that, just lots of stuff every day.
I think he sounds overqualified for the episode we got planned today.
He did better than you.
We have to ask you, what is, how do you say it, Corey? What is an agrologist?
Agrologist?
An agrologist is a Canadian word, and it really comes down to the like you have a psychologist, sociologist, a biologist, and an agrologist is an agricultural scientist. So I'm a professional agrologist. I carry a professional designation, and you could be an agrologist. So you guys are all familiar with the term agronomist. But when you think agrologist, that agrologist term could be a crossover into the livestock or into the business management sector. You could be an agrologist in grain marketing, for example. So it's a professional designation in the country of Canada. And for the listeners, you think of me as an agronomist, really. Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like it better than, just the agronomist. So that makes sense. Maybe we should adopt that.
We should. I was trying to figure out how I could be an agrologist in banking.
You're a bankologist.
I'm a bankologist. That's pretty. All right, let's jump into, for our listeners, kind of part 1 of our recap episode of 2022. I don't think we're going to go as long before we do our next recap show, since we do 2 shows a week. We'll probably hit one like 4th of July.
That's a lot.
Because we had a lot to get through. But ultimately, if we missed your answer as a guest, we apologize. There's a lot of them, but we try to categorize them. And Rob, is it okay to call you Rob?
Sure. Yep.
All right. Well, Rob, the first category I have in here is we got 3 or 4 different quotes or a piece of advice that really fit into the category of having faith in tomorrow, not worrying so much about today, that tomorrow will always be there, or we can fix whatever happened today and go into what we can accomplish tomorrow. Don't dwell on it. Does that kind of seem like it's a little bit right there, Corey?
I think you got it nail on the head there.
What's an example of one that we got, guys?
I'd go to the Zoe Kent.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've mentioned that one a lot. I wish I knew that it was all going to work out. And I've seen her make some TikToks lately that kind of reflected on that as well. Sometimes just having that faith, no matter what happens, it might not be exactly what you wanted, but it's all going to work out.
Right. I'm sure you've had quite a bit of experience around that, Robert, in forming and building all these companies. It probably didn't go exactly to plan, but it was probably all okay.
Yeah, that's I have something that a saying that I've used called blindly stepping into the future with faith. Blindly stepping into the future with faith. So think about you being on the you're on the edge of a cliff, and you know that there's some stairs there, but the clouds are right up at your feet. So you've got to take that first step and know that the stair is there. Know that. So I think that very often in agriculture, fundamentally, agriculture is one of those industries where the fundamentals are quite good and quite well understood, i.e., people need to eat. And especially after COVID, I think that the realization of the importance of agriculture in the supply chain is quite important. And then you have the disruptions that are, because of the invasion of Ukraine. That fundamentally our business is strong. The other thing I think you need to rely upon is your is the experience that you have. The company I'm building right now is esoteric. People don't understand it. They don't get it until they get it. And when they get it, and they go, oh my God, this is really good. But you have to have a lot of faith as an entrepreneur, looking into the mirror and believing in yourself. Fundamentally, we're in a good industry that seems to reward that persistence.
Well, and that kind of echoes what Pastor Ashley said on our deal. Don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will take care of itself. So the same thing that Zoe said, but in just different words.
Right.
Yep.
We have talked about AGvisorPRO before, but for our listeners that maybe either don't remember which it is, you just talked about building this new company. What is AGvisorPRO?
Mm-hmm. Well, AGvisorPRO, if you think about agriculture needing to move towards something called sustainable intensification, which I think we all agree would be a good thing. And I think about farmers, and I think about what keeps farmers from adopting technology faster. And it comes down to one word, and the word is confidence. They need to have confidence that the damn thing is going to work on their farm. And that confidence comes from talking to people who've been there and done that. Well, the best expert for your farm is likely somebody you don't know. So how do you find them? Well, that's what AGvisorPRO is. AGvisorPRO connects those seeking agricultural advice with trusted experts, either independent or company experts, to provide answers. And so we built this whole platform around the idea that we can quickly connect somebody who has a question in beef production, somebody who has a question in precision ag, with experts who can help them in their journey. And a lot of that information is free. Some of it's paid for. Some of it's available on a virtual farmers marketplace where they can get services. So AGvisorPRO is an app. It's a platform, iOS and Android, and that's what we're building right now. And it doesn't exist on the planet Earth. It's brand new, and it's like a combination of eHarmony, a matching algorithm, and Uber, and FaceTime, and Twitter, all mashed together in one exclusive platform solely for agriculture.
I like how you mentioned that when you first started talking about it, is it kind of helps you have a little bit more faith in yourself. If you know you've got good advice, to not worry about the result of tomorrow, if you're going to switch a practice or a hybrid or a crop, it can be a source there to gain a little bit more confidence to take that first step.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about that?
For sure, guys. If you think about it, farmers primarily have two echo chambers. One is, your buddies. We used to call it the coffee shop, but it's not. It's your buddies. Yeah. That's one echo chamber. And the second echo chamber is those people that are selling you fertilizer, chemical, seed, equipment, etc. Well, how do you know? And wouldn't it be good to get another source of expertise from somebody who's unbiased and out there that you didn't know? And that's what we're trying to do.
Yep. I was going to also chime in that it's similar to what our buddy Snark is seeing at gfy.ag. So he literally has brothers and cousins that are using his service, but the brother doesn't know or his neighbor doesn't know, because farming's competitive. That coffee shop is your buddy, but then you might not give them your edge. That's helping you grain market or helping you with agronomy.
Not the whole story.
So having access to someone that's a county over or a state over or a world over, it might be, it makes a lot of sense.
Right. So Robert, we had lunch.
I've been running.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to say I've been running a peer group for farmers called the Power Farm Group for 10 years now, and I've got two groups of 10 farms. and they need to be separated geographically so they're not competing for land. But that ability to talk to somebody else who's in your same business about grain marketing strategies or land, labor, and machinery costs or interest rates, man, that's valuable stuff.
Yeah, you got a good point there. The last quote or the last answer that we have that kind of rounds out this first category came from Duggo from the Larson family, Larson Farms. And he said, of course, finding something that doesn't feel like a job, make a career in something that you love. That was the base of it. But the last piece is what really got me is he said, find somebody who's willing to help you and let them give you a chance. Like, it feels weird to say that, but ultimately, obviously, we wrote this down for a reason because it's true. There's people that have faith in you. There's people that can help you. You just got to let them. That's hard.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the biggest, the best example I have is Farm Babe. Michelle Miller, she was starting out her career, and I gave her her first break. I put her on stage in front of 1,000 farmers in Canada, and she'll never forget that. And I'm so proud of being able to give people a chance.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun. We got to have her on one of our Farm for Fun shows, and I know
3 weeks ago.
I know we're going to have one of her quotes in here too. But let's move on to the next category, and that is that failure is an option. So we've got quite a few people that came about this. The first one that I want to hit on is from Zach Hasse, farmer out of Colorado, at one of our Farm for Fun shows. He said that his dad had always told him that disaster does not define you. It's a lesson. Just don't repeat your mistake twice.
I like that.
Yeah. What's another one, Corey, that you found out of there?
I like the farmer John Dinsmore. We had him on, and he also came up to the Farm Progress Show. It was cool to meet him in person. Said it's okay to expect failure. Life is happening so fast, it's okay to fail. Just because you fail, don't stop.
Right.
Everyone that has been successful has failed, but they didn't stop. So it's kind of like that fail forward.
Right. So, Robert, out of all the businesses that you've ran, did you have anything that failed?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, quite. And it's really about iterating and recognizing. I'll give you a good example. I think we had a lot of coaches working with farmers. We called them an agri coach, a market coach, a farm business coach. We had a project, land coaches, and land coaches would be an advisor that would work between the farmer and the oil and gas company to make sure that the leases were done up right and the farmer was getting value. Now, we wanted the farmer to pay us for our services so that we weren't tied to the oil company. And in the end, we probably should have had the oil company recognize our services for the farmer and paid us out of that portion. That one failed. And the other one was, and I'm frustrated by this one, was the cow-calf sector. We tried to launch something called a livestock coach, primarily focused on bringing efficiencies to cow-calfers in the area of pasture management and stuff like that. And we could not squeeze those dollars out of that sector, which was frustrating for me. Those are the two things that jump out. Mm-hmm. Both of them I thought were really good ideas, and both of them didn't catch.
And obviously you didn't quit working. You didn't quit powering forward. You didn't quit trying to dream up new ideas for new industries. So he's a prime example there. Dave, what's another one?
We heard him earlier. He's so inspirational. Jace Young, legacy farmer, says 99% of success is found in learning what not to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, I like that statement. You wouldn't know what not to do unless you failed. So it's not from people's wins that we learn. It's from their losses that can really save us in the long run.
That's a good point. I'd say here on the podcast that's something that we've learned from, is if something didn't go well or a topic didn't drive well with the group, you learn from that.
Yeah.
And he says in the end, he has a quote that I remembered. Greatness is not a destination. Of course, we're asking what do great people do. Greatness is not a destination. It's a journey that never ends.
Mm-hmm. On the failure side,
yeah.
How do you?
I was just thinking, guys. I was just thinking about my bucket of electronic shit that doesn't work. Have you guys tried buy? Have you guys tried buying technology and tried to make it work and ends up in a bucket? Well, I've got a bucket full of stuff that didn't work. It didn't mean it was a bad idea. It just didn't work. And it wasn't a failure. I tried to make it work and it was a learning experience. But I have a bucket full of failures. I call my technology bucket bin.
Well, we've got some of that here in this rolling tool chest of audio equipment.
Yeah, it's kind of like all the 2x4s in your garage that you can't throw away.
Right, can't throw them away.
You might use them on
They're
a project.
not failures yet.
That's what I was going to say, though, is I think part of failure is recognizing that it's a failure and then doing something about it instead of just continuing on down the path that, that doesn't lead to anywhere. So recognizing, I don't know what the right answer is, but
No, but you fit right into what Nick said from Integrity Builders. He said you make some of your best decisions after your mistake. We have to realize it's a mistake first. Then you can work on not making the same mistake twice. Obviously, he hopes you don't make the same mistake twice, but that's good. The last one we've got is from good buddy Ryan Rusink, part of Tractor Zoom and the Beer Money Pulling Team, one of the best photographers that we've ever met and known. He said he wished, as he reflected, that he would have known that it was okay to fail sooner. Feels like he might have taken some more chances. Says he wasted so much of his life and opportunities because he was striving to be perfect, and instead of being good, he realized that life isn't perfect, neither are you. Stop wasting your time and letting opportunities pass you by. What do you think about that, Robert?
Well, progress, not perfection. I mean, I'm a big believer in getting up on Monday morning and scribbling out something called Monday morning sticky notes. What do you want to get done this week? And then I don't know who said it. Maybe Brian Tracy. Get up in the morning and eat the raw frog first thing in the morning. In other words, get up in the morning and go after the hardest thing first, and tackle it and iterate quickly. So if that fails, you move on to another try, another way of doing it. There's a lot to be said for experimenting and trying again on a farming operation. This is one of the reasons that farmers need to have confidence, because a lot of the times it's one kick at the cat, one crop a year, for example, and you need to have that confidence and surround yourself with expertise that can minimize the failures. You want to try, but you also want to be smart about it.
Well, I think you just gave a perfect prelude into the next topic, which is try something new. You were just saying it there. Try, don't be afraid. Guys, try something new was one of the themes that came through with a bunch of people we asked.
Yeah, go ahead.
One of my favorite ones right here, and it was a show that was kind of a sneaker of an episode. I didn't even know we were recording that. Tanner had it set up. It was from Dr. Lisa Marotz, I think is how you say it, Marotz. I can't remember how you pronounce that.
We just called her Dr. Lisa.
Dr. Lisa from Native Microbes. She said, always get out of your comfort zone. If you're feeling too comfy and bored, it's time to move. So I kind of take that one to heart. I get that way in a lot of things of farming, and I think that's why I have my hands in a lot of different stuff, because it's always something new.
That's not easy to do. It's not easy to go from being comfortable to not.
Yep. Oh.
Anymore.
Stuff is falling apart.
Yeah, that's part of our tech bucket.
There's our tech bucket.
Another one, too, we got was Kelly Garrett, who's been a friend of the podcast for quite a while. He himself basically said, Robert, that you've got to be humble enough to realize that as he's talking about generating high yields, that you are the yield limiting factor on your farm. If you don't have the opportunity to take 10 acres to set aside into bigger yields, you're probably already going broke.
Interesting.
Yeah, that whole idea of pushing the envelope on yield or production. So much of, just look around us. You've already mentioned a couple companies here, and a lot of stuff hitting us right now, guys, would be called wiffle dust or snake oil or something like that. But I guarantee you that amongst all of the companies that are working in the area of biologicals, there are going to be some winners. There's going to be some companies that hit it out of the park. And the only way you're going to know is to try. And so I'm we have so much opportunity to learn these days on the farm because the yield monitors, the way to set up infield trials. I think about the number of companies that can help farmers dissect the information that they pull off versus different fungicides and things like that. I think that we continue to need to experiment at a very rapid rate. I'm a big believer in having an idea and throwing it out to young people who have never been on a farm or never been in agriculture and getting their perspective on, because they look at things a different way. And I think there's a lot of learning to be done by consulting with other bright young people.
He's got a good point there, Corey. I mean, we've gained access to a lot of cool new things that either we put on the podcast or were asked to, and maybe we weren't comfortable enough, sharing that because we didn't have enough data behind it. But Lane Gorel, another Farm for Fun episode we had, the TikTok dancer, the dancing farmer, he had a John Wayne quote, Robert. He said, John Wayne said, "Courage is being scared to death, but saddling up anyway." So reflecting that as to trying something new, it's going to be scary. It's not something you're used to doing. Maybe you go find an advisor on AGvisorPRO to get a little bit more information. But ultimately, Corey, jumping into something is not always something that's not scary.
No, it's going to be scary sometimes. And that's part of what I said the first time was get out of your comfort zone because being comfy ain't good.
Well,
you didn't say Dwayne while I was gone.
Nope.
Did you? My next one is from Dwayne Faber, which awesome dude.
Just a second, just a second there. John Wayne also said, "I hope that tomorrow learns something from yesterday."
That's pretty good.
Some wisdom in that saying as well.
Oh, I like that.
That's pretty good for a Canadian.
Yeah.
I feel like
I
he's
hang out down in Maricopa, Arizona, and John Wayne was between Maricopa and Casa Grande. They have a road called John Wayne Parkway, Pilgrim.
That's funny. He was born here in Iowa.
Uh-huh.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
I was going to say, so going on to Dwayne Faber, he said, at the end of life, when people look back, they have regrets of omission rather than commission. Mm-hmm. Meaning, go out, live your life, take chances, do the things that may be scary. You'll probably regret not doing things instead of doing things and possibly failing.
Yeah, I wonder, Robert, obviously you're in a large circle of influences. You've created so many companies and now obviously running AGvisorPRO. Have you ever heard anybody say that they regret doing something?
I love this area of discussion because, I'm at the age right now, and I've had some successes, and agriculture has been good to me. And a lot of my colleagues have retired. They look at me, and they say, "Why are you doing this?" And I got to say that I am risking a lot right now. I got a lot on the line with AGvisorPRO, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I wake up in the morning and I've got a team of 22 people. 81% are under 35 and 50% under 30 years of age. They are young, and my biggest regret at the end of my life would be not having to try to do this. Somebody is going to build the most connected, unbiased, agnostic agricultural platform on the planet Earth. Why not us? Why not us? Why can't we do this? And I'll wake up every day and work my ass off until we do it. Somebody's going to do it. Might as well be us.
Yeah.
You guys,
I'd be regretting it if I didn't do it.
When we talk about regret, I remember one on here, actually Huey Be Cool. I think he was referring to me because I had made a career path change. He says things take time, but you have time. And do more things in your life because you can always change course. So if it doesn't work out, you can always change course to go a different direction, was his thoughts.
Yeah, I like what Mitchell Horace said from Continuum Ag. I'm sure, Robert, that's a gentleman that you're fairly familiar with. Mitchell is a stellar guy, salt of the earth, probably going to be a frequent guest on our podcast just because of his insight and research level. But he said if you're trying something new, you got to get to the first check. So he says, get the first check, start small, try something new, but make sure you get that first check. You're trying a new product, you're trying a new procedure, you're trying something new that's on the market. Work to get that first check, and then the other checks after that will start to come easier. In the business, in farming, you got to figure out how you're going to get to the first check when you're trying something new, and then you can start working on getting more checks.
Yeah, with AGvisorPRO, we just brought on 3 companies last week, our first checks. And it's been over 2 years in the making. The other thing I wanted to comment, people, is our horizon. When I am in, like, you guys are all fairly young. Many of you, barring a disaster or disease that you don't control, will live well beyond 100 years of age. And when I'm talking to people in agriculture, and I ask them the question, "What's the year you're going to die? How old you're going to be when you die?" Everybody's got a number, and they're dramatically underestimating their lifespan, because based on what we're seeing, lifespans are going to get longer. You probably have more time to tackle your issue than you realize.
Huh, that's good perspective.
I've never heard it described like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, last one that I had on the note sheet for this category before we get into what I feel like is one of the most powerful segments that a lot of our guests focused on. It came from Steve and Melissa Pierce. This was our Valentine's Day episode, Robert. So this is clear back to last February. We had a couple on from Nebraska, and he was saying, "I wish I knew things could be done differently than the way Dad and Grandpa did them. Just because it's always been done that way doesn't make it the best way for you. Start thinking outside of the box and try to find different ways that work for you to do things."
So you talked about the power couple, and that was Steven's comments, but his better half there, Melissa, goes right into our next topic. That's no one else defines who you are. So she took a different kind of course and went, I wish the things that stressed you out about when you were younger, let me start over. I wish the things that you stressed out about when you were younger, I shouldn't have worried about. Don't let anybody define you. They don't mean that much. Just do your best and don't stress.
Yeah, whether it's Dad or Grandpa or your friends or anybody else in your life, it doesn't matter who you are. Robert, does that come across to you in your professional experience?
Yeah, I think that, farming is interesting because, from a standpoint of a business ecosystem, you're kind of out there on the farm. And whether it's 3 generations or 2 working together, it's hard. It's hard to say we're going to do it this way. Well, no, we've been doing this way for a long time, and that's why I think that peer groups are good. There's a lot of really good farm peer groups out there, and I encourage farmers to get involved with them. And the really nice part about the ones that we run, the Power Farm group that I run, is that I've got 2 generations. I got mom and dad, and I got the kids that are also the children that are taking over the farming operation there, and they're sharing ideas with other farmers. I tell you what, that is the best way to break down this. We've always done it this way. When you hear other farmers doing it, then it gives you the courage and the confidence to know that you should try doing it a different way.
Very nice. You know what I'm noticing here, Tanner, is most of the ones under this category came from Farm for Fun shows. There's only 2 or 3 out of Farm for Profit. What do you think that means?
Oh, that's a good idea. I didn't even correlate the 2 different show structures together. I wonder if our next part 2 is going to have more of the other way.
It is interesting. But my next one is from the Tony Reed show that we had. We had actually Huey, Tony, and Justin Danger Nunley on. And this one's from Justin. Said, "Don't worry so much about what other people think. I wish I wouldn't have worried as long as I did about other people. Be unapologetically yourself." And I take that one to heart.
That is one guy who is unapologetically himself.
Yeah.
He is definitely living exactly what he said. Rob Sharkey, who I'm sure you've come across, Robert, another great Rob in the ag community. he said kind of the same thing. He said, even though Justin was talking about don't worry about what other people think, he's saying don't criticize yourself. Don't focus so much on what you don't think you're doing well. Focus on what you're good at. And then do that, become more confident, and the rest will follow.
Yeah, I think that my comments on that is be know thyself and be true to thyself, and that is, I get invited to speak on a lot of pretty great stages around the world, and I think one of the reasons is because I'm unapologetic about what I know to be true. And when I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to speak to the United Nations and the Food and Agricultural Organization, I listened for 3 days in that conference as people just jumped on bandwagons of ideology, and everybody was ignoring the pragmatism of agriculture. And when I got up, I started to talk about some pragmatic facts that the number one food waster in the world was not scrapings off restaurant tables, but mycotoxin. It destroys food in the field and in storage, and nobody's talked about mycotoxins. So I think that, be true to yourself. On your farming operation, some things to be true. In some areas, cover crops are going to work, and in other areas, I don't know, that yield drag could be an issue. So let's get that on the table and not just jump on ideological bandwagons. Let's parse this out according to the nuances of your area.
Brianna Mueller, she was the ag teacher, right? Mm-hmm. She was the ag teacher we talked with, and my whole life everybody said you go too fast and you go too whatever. Well, she said,
hold on, could you slow up just a little bit?
She said you can't let the way that you grew up define you. So if everybody knows you for going too fast, doesn't mean that that's got to define your whole world of what you want to do in the future. Just become an auctioneer. You'd be fine.
Just become an auctioneer. But she's got a good point that you don't have to be who you're expected to be. Mm-hmm. That's not even one. I just remember that as kind of a theme. Ag with Emma was on, and that's kind of what she said is go do it. Always remember who you are as a person and where you're from, but you are also the one who knows where you're going. Have fun with it. Be yourself around others so that they will be themselves around you.
She probably also said 43,560. Just saying. She might have said square feet in an acre.
So, Robert, up there in Canada, does 43,560 mean anything to you guys?
43,562, I think, square feet in an acre. I think it is.
Yes, it is. Because I can't remember. Obviously, Australia are hectares, but in Canada, do you also have different units of measurement? Are you hectares?
No, we're the land base is all divided up into acres, quarter sections, three quarters of 160 acres into a section. So that's us. We sell our fertilizer in kilograms and but we apply it as pounds per acre of nutrients. So I don't know what we are.
It's a mixture of both.
Yeah, we're probably screwing you up.
Well, you guys might remember that Iowa farmer's wife, this is what it is, Iowa farmer's wife, Lauren. She said not all social media platforms are real life either. And in our world, I think that's a huge take that people need to realize is we only post the good stuff. Nobody ever posts like I broke this or did the bad or whatever. Right. So when you're comparing yourself to other people, no one else defines who you are. Whatever you want to post it.
That's true. The Rio Reel. That was Brooke Doyle. Or not Brooke Doyle. Brooke, I can't think of her last name.
Way to go!
When we were doing the research work for AGvisorPRO,
Taylor.
One of the things that came out real early was that nobody wants to look stupid. So the questions in AGvisorPRO are actually posted anonymously, but are geotagged. So I know it came from Salinas, Kansas, but the questions are posted anonymously, and that's a great way for a younger farm person or an agribusiness person or even agronomist to learn. Because the questions are posted anonymously, then the people respond, and then you connect and are unveiled. I find that a lot of social media is not real. And like you said, people always just show the good stuff. And We have to find a way to have real candid conversations. I think we're cracking that in our app, AGvisorPRO.
And I think we need to become more relatable. I think like, yep, we drink beer. Yep, we fail. Yep, we got the tractor flat tire. Yep, we did that. I think that's when some of the best social influencers, why they have success is because they're real and relatable.
Yeah, like I misspoke earlier. Brooke Taylor she's coined the phrase the Rio Reel. Mm-hmm. And that's what she continues to post on her social media platforms. The last two sisters that we have on our sheet for today's episode, same topic, no one else defines who you are part of the New York Farm Girls. Mm-hmm. Evelyn said, of course, this is self-promotion. She wished she'd have learned about the Farm for Profit podcast sooner because she's got a 30-minute commute, can play us on 1.5 times speed, and boom, the episode's over and picks up a lot of this great advice that we're giving. But Claudia, her sister, said, when you think of the other people's perception of you, if you're concerned about what other people are thinking of you, you're never going to truly live your best life. Have confidence in yourself, and it will take you big places. You have to trust in yourself first. And I took that so much to heart that when I was writing a little blurb for the Iowa Bankers Association, I said, you got to believe in yourself first before you expect somebody else to believe in you. Robert, I know there's the fake it till you make it cliche, but you have to believe that you can do it, that you can pull it out, that you can perform before you really can expect anybody else to believe in you. Do you feel like that's true?
Yeah, I think that I've used the word confidence before, but at the end of the day, you have to look in the mirror and you have to know that the number one fan you have is staring back at you. You have to protect your confidence. The other thing you have to realize, and I learned this when I was 30 years old, I was a marketing manager for a fertilizer company. And one of my sales guys came up to me and said to me, you know, Rob, not everybody likes you. And I went, what do you mean? How could not everybody like me? I'm a good guy. And it was such a pivotal moment because I realized then that you're right. Not everybody likes me. Not everybody likes the way I act or say things or whatever. But that is who I am, and you be true to yourself. And so that was kind of a fun thing to learn at that age.
That's good. Not everybody likes us.
Yeah, and there's a fine line between confidence and cockiness.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
You mentioned that the number one fan is looking back at you in the mirror, but I would argue that our number one fan is Mama Lynn, who is my mother, and she's the one that listened to every show this year, and she's the one that wrote down all of these answers and compiled them into a document for us. We couldn't ask for a better number one fan, so I wanted to at least give Mom a shout out.
Thank you, Lynn,
for doing that. But Corey, we've got a new question for the year as we get ready to wrap up. Give Robert our new question for the year, and then I'll summarize while he thinks about his answer.
Robert, what does success look like to you?
So be thinking about that, and I will go ahead and hit these highlights one more time for our listeners today. Obviously, we had a very qualified guest here, Robert Saik with AGvisorPRO. Go check them out for any of your agricultural questions. You can submit those questions anonymously and get great answers. Starting off, we talked about having faith in tomorrow. Don't worry so much about today because tomorrow will work itself out. I think we've used Zoe Kent's comment on this episode at least a dozen times. Thank you so much to everybody that joined us. Failure is an option. You can't be afraid of failure, but you have to understand when it's a mistake. You have to be able to get by that. But before I go on any further, I want to remind our listeners that Robert told us that it's kind of like blindly stepping into the future with faith. So not only do you have to have faith in tomorrow, but you have to understand that it's okay if you fail. It's okay if you take that step and it's not there, as long as you're prepared to catch yourself on the next one. Yeah, we got into the next category of try something new, and I wrote this down because I felt like I've heard it somewhere, but I hadn't heard it said this way, is you eat up and eat the raw frog in the morning, which means go after the hardest thing on your to-do list, your task list, and accomplish that. Knock it out. You're looking at me like you didn't hear him say eat the raw frog.
I think that's when I was checking the camera.
Oh, yes. Eat the raw frog in the morning. Don't be afraid to try something new. And then lastly, nobody else defines who you are. Know thyself and be true to thyself. and you will be just fine. And continue to listen to the Farm Profit Podcast, because we're going to try and leave little nuggets in your ear each week. Well, Robert, to you, what does success look like?
Yeah. To me, success is at the end. It's not about money. Success is, I think that all of us have been given talents and gifts and opportunity. And to me, success is really in leveraging them. My grandparents both came from Ukraine. I'm 100% Ukrainian. What they went through to give me the life that I have right now. And, to me, success is leveraging that opportunity to take the ideas that I have and try, because at the end of my life, I will regret not trying. I want to have tried. Even if it didn't work, I want to have given it a shot. To me, that's success.
That's great.
And that goes back to I can't remember who said that it was Dwayne Faber.
Yep.
Nobody looks back on what they did and has regrets. It's on what they didn't do. Absolutely.
Rob, do you ever see yourself retiring?
No, I don't think so. I got another book in my head. I love working with young people. But I think retirement means to do what you want to do, to go where you want to go, to spend time with the people you want to spend time with, to have enough money to be able to do all that. And if that's the definition of retirement, I've been retired for a long time.
Nice.
That was good. That was a really great nugget here at the end of the show. Robert, we appreciate everything that you did for us in providing your wisdom and insight. If our listeners want to find out more about you and AGvisorPRO, how do they do that?
Yeah, AGvisorPRO, AGvisorPRO, AGvisorPRO is, you can just search that on the internet or download it on iOS or Android. And my name, Robert Saik, S-A-I-K, I have my own website and stuff. So if people wanted to go and peruse and see who the heck this guy is that was on your lovely podcast, they can do that. R-Saik, R-S-A-I-K, and Twitter as well.
Awesome. We appreciate it. We thank you so much. Listeners, we're going to challenge you to reflect on the advice that we gave here and show up to our part 2 next week and find out what the rest of these categories are to help make you the most successful farmer that you are. But until then, have a good one.